Dum, 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 ta. Hi, hello, and welcome to November. We are dressed in brown today because that's the color for the month, and I really have nothing worthwhile to say other than cue the intro. Let's talk about this song. I first had the idea for the November song in the fall of 2019. I was in Seattle for an entire month. It was like from the beginning of October to like the beginning of November. So I was there for Halloween. I played some shows there and in Portland, and I just Seattle holds a very special place in my heart. That's where my brother went to college at University of Washington, and so he had a place there, and I would often come to visit, and it got to the point where I spent like 1 month each season in Seattle. So it was kind of amazing. And whenever I was there, because we didn't have a car, I would always take public transportation, and Seattle has great public transportation. It's a great bus system, train system, and so they have this like card that you pay with. It's called the Orca, and so whenever I would go to Seattle, I would load up my Orca, then drive everywhere with a bus. And there was this connection. Whenever I would go to downtown, I would take a bus, and then I would take a train, the Link. And one day in that fall, I was driving on the train to downtown Seattle, people watching, and I just thought, wow, what an incredibly beautiful and poignant and almost like very viscerally emotional thing it is to watch people on a train, because these are all strangers. I know nothing about their lives. I don't know their names. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what their lives are like. I don't know if they're happy, if they're having a really hard time. And yet in this moment, for this couple minutes, seconds, our lives intertwine by just sitting on this train. And then there's a moment that we share in our lives. And then as soon as the train arrives to the next stop, we diverge again. And we'll probably never meet again, but we will forever be connected by that one moment on the train. And I thought that was really beautiful. And I was like, maybe I should write a song about it. And so then I did. Verse 1, I don't know what else to say. Afternoon on the train, I only took it because it started to rain. Afternoon in the fall, this weather always makes me think about it all. This one is a pretty straightforward verse. I think it sets the scene nicely about sitting on, and this is very, autobiographical, if you will. It's very much like reading a diary. It's exactly what happened. I was on the train one afternoon, and I took it only because it started to rain and I didn't want to walk to the next station. And so I took the train. And then afternoon in the fall, this weather always makes me think about it all, which is true. I think there's just something, and I sort of briefly touched on this topic in the September song already. I don't know what it is exactly in this time of year that makes the melancholy me reappear. And I think there's something about fall that just evokes nostalgia, but also reflection and introspection. And I think it's because we start going indoors more, staying indoors because the weather gets colder. And so that sort of nudges us to be a little bit more introspective and think about life more. And yeah, that's what this first verse describes. Let's go to the first pre-chorus. The woman across me, she's wearing a trench coat, a bouquet of roses. I wonder what they're for. A candlelit dinner, a date in the bar, a night at the theater, or love in the dark. Fun fact, this is actually about a real woman that I saw on the train that day. I know nothing about her. I don't know her name. I don't know what her life is about, but I do remember she had a beautiful, like, caramelly trench coat on, and she was carrying this big bouquet of roses. And I just remember in that moment, I was like, there was a whole movie inside of just her in that moment. Everything about her hair looked beautiful. The flowers were gorgeous, and they smelled, at that point, no one was wearing masks yet because COVID hadn't happened yet. The smell of roses was like sort of wafting through the air, like traveling through the train cart. And it was very magical. She was the main character in that moment. Absolutely. And this is just sort of the contemplation on her. And I think I do this a lot in life, is whenever I see someone that or a scene that I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This doesn't feel like real life. I'll often start thinking about, who is this person? What do they do? I wonder where they're going to, or what their life is like, or where they're from, or what they do, what kind of food they eat, what's their favorite color, all of that. And I think this whole entire song really is musings about strangers that you see on the train. And so this first pre-chorus sort of starts describing that. I wonder what she's doing, that she's carrying a bouquet of roses. And I wonder what they're for. Is she meeting someone? Is she going on a date? Is she going to the theater? In that line, I wanted to say, like, is she seeing a relative or a friend at the theater and she's bringing them flowers? Or are they for love in the dark? Or is she coming home to like a romantic date, romantic dinner with her boyfriend, husband, or girlfriend? So yeah, that's good. That's what that is. Let's go into the chorus. I don't know where she's going. I don't even know her name. I don't know if her life has been a breeze or a game. I don't know if he loves her or if loving him is fate. But I do know that our fates have intertwined for a moment on a train. I think there's something really special or unique about feeling a connection with a person that you know nothing about. And I think this is really what this chorus captures is, I don't know where she's going. I don't know her name. I don't know how her life has been. If she had an easy life, was it tumultuous, whatever that word is. Was it but I do know that even though I'll never meet her again and she's a complete stranger to me, we will forever share that one moment on a train, and our lives will forever be connected in the tiniest way by that collision of our lives, of our timelines in that moment on the train. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool that life works like that, right? Verse 2. Almost at the downtown stop. I'm already late, but I don't wanna get up. Outside the city's painted gray, but in here a vivid world is on display. Almost at the downtown stop. Like I said, the only time that I would take the train in Seattle was when I needed to get downtown. Everywhere else I could go with a bus, but it was also always the Capitol Hill to downtown that I would always take by train. And so that's what this is talking about, is I'm already late to where I need to be. I'm almost at that downtown stop, but I don't want to get up from where I'm sitting because I'm so deep in thought, so enthralled and just fascinated by what is happening in this train car. Outside it's raining, it's gloomy, but in here it feels like an entire magical world is alive, because I could just envision all of these timelines colliding and intersecting and people being connected by simply existing in the same place at the same time. I'm getting very philosophical now, but second pre-chorus. The man behind me, he carries a suitcase, a custom cut suit, but shadows on his face. Was it just a bad day? Will he laugh when he gets home, or did it all go astray? And now he sleeps alone. Another musing about a stranger on the train, and it's another person that I saw that day on the train. And it was this very polished businessman type of person, because obviously he was going downtown, and he had like this very fancy suit on and a suitcase. It was like very almost like stereotypical movie businessman. But he looked tired, and I was like, well, I wonder, and it was again that play of appearances versus reality, and how we perceive each other when we only have limited information about each other, and everything that I could deduct, or all the questions that I could pose, were based on how he looked in that moment. And I think it's about, this pre-chorus, this idea of, oh, he is dressed so well and he looks very well off and wealthy, but he also looks somber and tired, and is this juxtaposition of, having financial stability, but perhaps not happiness? Question mark? Bridge. How many timelines collide inside these walls? How many good times and tear-soaked phone calls? probably some of my favorite lyrics that I've ever written. So how many timelines collide inside these walls, inside the walls of this train cart? You know, how many lives have bounced off of each other and intersected in this one cart? How many good times, you know? And it almost feels like this very fast montage through time, through from whenever this train has existed up until today, and you can just see flashbacks of people celebrating, having fun, maybe coming like from a party or going to a party or to a dinner or to the theater, having great times, and tear-soaked phone calls, and how many bad news did people receive on this train, or did they get broken up with on the phone, and you know, just so much life happening in this one train cart. Decades of living, a multiverse ballet. Decades of living, just so many people, millions of people who must have ridden this train in all of their lives, and a moment of their lives that had happened, mine included, in that train cart. Such as on the idea of the multiverse and in several realities parallelly existing. And I said multiverse ballet because it's, you know, it's just the interaction of different timelines is sort of like a dance, and ballet as a very, how would I say, very delicate sort of dance, which is what this is. And tomorrow, all of these seats will be filled with new faces. Anyway, and it's like, here I am pondering all of these like existential questions and wondering what this woman is doing, where she's going, what this man's life is like. But tomorrow, none of it will matter again, because all of these seats will have different people sitting on them, and life will just keep on going, you know, but the earth just keeps spinning. Life will keep happening, and this will just remain as like a tiny little blip in the history of this train and of life. Yeah, I don't know, like I said, a very philosophical sort of song. But my favorite thing about this is it's actually funny. When I went to Seattle in August this year, I was working in a lot of coffee shops, and I brought my of course, I had my laptop with me. And so I was opening up Logic, which is where I produce my songs, and I tried to produce something. And the coffee shop was like, how cool would it be if I came up with a production for this in Seattle? Because the song is about riding the train in Seattle. And I had like a whole production built around it with like drums and horns. But then I started singing along to it, and I was like, wow, that just, it seemed like it retracted from what the song was. Like all of a sudden it didn't feel as special or as almost poignant anymore. It was just a song. And so I was like, maybe this needs to be a piano only track. And so this is the first song I've ever released. It just has piano and vocal in it, and that's it. No harmonies, no synths, no drums, nothing. It's just that, and then an outro with the strings. And I think it's how the song is supposed to be. I think it sometimes a song needs to be pulled back and simplified, because there's other things that need to be highlighted. Like in this case, I think the lyrics, the storytelling. And the outro in this is Salut d'amour by Edward Elgar, and it's one of my favorite classical music pieces. And the melody is actually, part of it is already in the lead vocal melody of the November song. Afternoon on a train, and then Salut d'amour is dum 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 da 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 dum dum dum. So it has kind of the same intervals and melodies in there, so I think it's a good fit for the song. And because the entire song before it was only piano, I think having that strings outro, it feels like almost like now you're in that train cart and you're visualizing this multiverse ballet, and you can just feel timelines interact and intersect and dance with each other. And then it ends on a single note. And that to me is sort of like the train leaving and just time continuing for eternity. And and that's the November song. We only have one more song left this year, which, oh my God, can you believe it? I cannot. Genuinely cannot. But yeah, that's it, and I'll see you at Christmas time. All right, toodles, bye. Bye, bye.
Don't know where she's going, I don't even know her name. I don't know if her life has been a breeze or a hurricane. I don't know if he loves her or if loving him is pain. But I do know that our fates have intertwined for a moment on a train.